What would you say are some of the most important qualities for a songwriter to have?
Oh,
Like
wow.
intangible personal attributes?
What a really great question. Um, I think you need like a healthy dose of self-confidence, I think. Um, so that the doubt doesn't
Mm,
take over when
mm,
you're in the midst of the process, right? When the ideas are coming, when the lines are flowing, when you're pulling stuff out of the air, essentially, that you have faith in yourself and confidence in yourself that what you're pulling and bringing into form is worth pursuing,
mm.
you know. um and I think I also find, a lot of the best songwriters I know, it's just it's like a it's a habit for them.
Mm.
It's like a part of their everyday existence, is this observational quality and an openness to wherever inspiration strikes.
Like cultivating this like way of being in the world where what you do is you write songs about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the awareness that the next the next melodic idea, or the next line, or the next hook, or the next story, not only could it come from anywhere, but also that could like be the one
Mm.
that you've been waiting for, you know? And that requires like a certain amount of 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 dedication, but also it's like sort of the same thing, like this confidence, like, okay, this idea came through and it's worth following to its fruition and completion, because I don't, and like, again, we're going to talk about the same guy again. Lauderdale's a prime example of someone, like, he is so prolific. He writes all the time and he records all the time. And I think he does that because he knows that that morning when he gets up and he goes down to Music Row to write with somebody, that could be the greatest song he's ever written, you know? And you don't know until you leave your house, you grab your guitar, you leave your house and you drive down there to meet that person, or until you sit down with your cup of coffee in the morning and you pursue that idea that you got yesterday driving your car. You pursue
Mm.
it at the very least until you are certain that it's not worth pursuing. But ideally, you pursue it until you have a completed idea and you've gone through the process. And then, only then, can you maybe have the amount of the sort of perspective that one needs to be able to stand back from it and say, yeah, this is this is worth doing something with. This is worth taking the next step of either pitching it to other people or recording it yourself and bringing it into form, you know. Um, but that desire and that hope that the best song you've ever written is just like right around the corner.
Mm. I'd love to hear you talk about darkness in art and how ultimately that could be a beautiful thing.
In some ways, there's like a bit of an assumption, or like an idea we have as a culture, that great art comes from suffering. And some people would even argue that great art only comes from suffering, you know.
Mm.
And I find myself that, like, when I'm struggling, I tend to write more than when I'm not. When things are fine, I'm off being fine.
Mm.
um when I'm in it is when I'm alone and quiet and trying to make sense of what it is that's going on, that 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 darkness. And I think also as a listener, there's music that I go to when I'm really feeling great, music that I listen to when I want to get pumped up. But then there's also so much music that I go to when I'm not feeling great, and it speaks to those parts of myself that are suffering and that are not okay. Um, and it gives voice to that, because when you're stoked, you're not trying to figure out why. But when you're not, that's sort of like the biggest question is like, why do I feel like this, and what can I do about it? And so much great music and great art addresses that question.
And hearing you talk, that it goes through my mind like it keeps you from hiding from yourself, because it's
Yeah.
like so easy to, you know, distract yourself, bottle things up. We just, life goes on, you move on. But then there's this whole like iceberg of everything below the surface. Um, yeah, it's like it like keeps you from doing this escapism with that.
Yeah. What's really, yeah, that's so true. And what's really important for me is that I I can't process all this stuff in my own head. Like the endless sort of mind loops.
Hmm.
Um I know enough now not to trust my own thoughts and emotions, and to try not to associate too deeply with them, to try to just observe them. But even with that awareness, um I get caught in the mind loops. And for me, I have to get I have to get stuff out, whether I write it or whether I sing a song that's already been written that's about it, or whether I even just like this is what a therapist is great for. It's just like that conversation about, hey, these are some things I'm thinking and feeling, and what is this, and how can I make sense of this? And really that process of like getting it out and looking at it, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is ridiculous. This isn't serving me. But I can't. It's hard for me to get to that place when it's all still inside my head.
Mm.
You know, and that, I think, so for me, like the making up of the music, the writing of the music, a lot of times will serve that purpose. Um, but also listening to music that's doing sort of the same thing, that's speaking to this sort of inner monologue that's going on.
Mm.
And it helps to kind of get some distance from it, because it's very rare that my thoughts and emotions are serving my my being, my deepest, truest self. Most of that is just kind of like made up nonsense. It's like it's like the ego doing war with itself, or just trying to confuse me. And it can be very confusing. And that's kind of a lot what I realized after I made the record. That's a lot of what my record is about, is this like kind of trying to make sense of, I mean, these things, they seem so real, these thoughts and these emotions, but none of it is really real. It's not reality. It's all, and I don't even like, where does this stuff come from? It just kind of arises, something will
Mhm.
happen and I'll feel a certain way about it. It's kind of bizarre, and so much of the process of moving toward being more enlightened, or even just feeling better, being less bothered, that path is like, that place is sort of on the other side of these thoughts and these emotions. They're sort of in between the being and the being, right? Like
Mhm.
your being and the state of being is this it's like trying to walk, it's like trying to cross a busy street in Manhattan. It's like there's just like this madness that's going on,
Yeah.
you know. and it's weird and it's fascinating, and that's that process of like bringing it into form and looking at it makes it a lot easier for me to see the sort of the absurdity of it.
Nailed it. Yes.
This is Flowers on the Stage, a podcast about being creative and finding success. To support it, please check out our sponsors, New Belgium Brewing, Thrax CBD, and Ticket Relief, the ticketing company that plants trees with a portion of each ticket sold. And now, back to the episode.
So, talking about being vulnerable as an artist with songwriting, but also, like expanding that to something like stage fright, like being vulnerable enough to be yourself publicly on a stage. Like, I'd love to hear what you've learned are the most important, like, aspects of your mental approach that'll allow you to, be vulnerable as a songwriter, be vulnerable on stage, and like what advice you could share maybe with other artists about that.
Yeah, specific to being on stage and performing, there is sort of an element of, there's a couple things that are going on and that really help. One is like there's like there's like on one level there's like it's like full surrender to the process, and seeing it as a process, and that the only and also releasing certain I'm trying to keep this from like going completely off the rails, but like and getting too far out, but like
no one's asking you to do that.
the the idea, well, here a great story, like the great Connie Smith, incredible country music singer. She was hanging out with a friend of mine who was about to play at the station in Nashville, and my friend was really nervous, and Connie Smith was like, "Oh, sweetheart, why are you so nervous?" And she said, "Well, I just don't like, are they gonna like me? Is the audience gonna like me?" And Connie goes, "Oh, sweetheart, it's not their job to like you. It's your job to love them." And I think that's so great. And
I love that.
and you step on stage, and some performers are like, they're masters of like taking control of the audience and bringing the audience along with them. But that's some like next level kind of stuff. I'm not really there. I don't really have the ability to exert that sort of power over an audience. All that I can do is what I do, and be really present and really try to enjoy myself, and allow and let go of any sort of result, whether the and part of it too is it's so hard to perceive from on stage what's actually happening. You get off stage and your bandmate will be like, "God, that audience, man, they didn't really care at all." And another guy is like, "I thought they were totally digging it." I mean, there's no way to really, your perception from on stage, so with regards to like stage fright or being nervous about going up there and doing the thing, it's like, I mean, I've been at this a while now. I'm just like, well, these people paid money to be here. They must have some awareness as to what's going to go down. And I know I can do what it is I do and have been doing for 25 years. And if that's not enough, that's totally fine. Another thing I'll do is like, it's like almost like a meditation where again, the word is surrender, where I basically just like sort of ask whatever it is, the universe, or even like, I guess it's maybe asking myself. I don't know. I don't know how this works. I don't know if it's God or what, but asking it to help me cultivate a space where I can be whatever the audience needs me to be for them, right? Because it's one big projective system. I'm representing something different to everybody in the audience, and it's not really me. I mean, people get a pretty good dose of who I am by following me on social media, or meeting me after a show, that kind of thing. But even then, like, I mean, I don't even know myself, so they don't know me, right? But you know, you're watching someone on stage and they're representing things for you, right? Like you may love them, you may want to be them, you may resent them or hate them for whatever reason, right? Like maybe maybe your girlfriend's like really got a thing for the lead singer, and by the end of the show you're just like, this is screw these guys, these guys are jokes. Everybody in that audience is having a different experience and projecting onto the people on stage different things, right? Like Jimmy
Mhm.
Page is for me something different than what he is for somebody else, right? Um, and so the meditation is like, well, just can I allow myself to just be whatever everybody needs me to be, and to just cultivate a space where I can be comfortable being projected on any level. And I feel like that's just sort of my role. I'm just like, I'm here and I'm going to do this thing where I play music with my friends and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, but I'm not like trying to put anything over on anybody. And if someone needs to hate me that night, then that's what they need. And that's what I'm there for.
Mm.
And
Just
that,
no resistance.
yeah, man. And that like, that almost like, it almost, if I'm really there, then that eliminates any hang up that I
Mm.
might have about anything, because you can't lose then if that's sort of the goal, is just to be present and available.
I love it. I love it. Zooming out, if there's one like lesson or takeaway from, you know, everything you've been through, your story, what you're all about, what would you say that is?
I think there's two things. I- I think what I've learned is that if you pay attention and you say yes almost all the time, know when to say no, but open yourself up to the possibilities, take advantage of the opportunities that come your way, and stay grateful for them, and do things for the right reasons, which usually involves some element of perceiving what you're doing as a service. You know, always not, you know, it's like the Kennedy that said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. You know, ask not what the universe can do for you, but what can I, what are the opportunities for me to do something that will be more than nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then everything should work out. Um, everything should work out, you know. And then the other thing is, I'm pretty sure now, I'm only 42. I got a lot more years of learning and realizations, but I know that I'm not going to become enlightened and totally free in this lifetime. I've realized that's not going to happen, right? So I'm not waiting for this like transcendence, but what I have this what I do think might be true is that when we're trying to figure out how to lead our lives, what the point is of all of this, you know, questions of spirituality, why we're here, what the whole point is, I'm beginning to think it may boil down to something as simple as, how unbothered can I be?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the suffering, is the agitation, the wanting things to be different, the taking offense, the getting upset, getting stressed, all of these things. That's the suffering that happens in our lives. And I think it may be, and that's kind of what a lot of these, that's what a lot of these, like especially Eastern philosophies point toward ultimately, is just like trying to stay. I think it might be as simple as like just trying to stay unbothered, you know. And so that's kind of what I've learned. That's kind of what I've feel like I've figured out over these 42 years, is the question is really like, how can I be of use and of service, and how can I stay unbothered while I'm doing it?
Fantastic. Travis, this has been so awesome, man. I love the way your mind works. I love your takes. This is like gold. As just a listener, like mind blown. Everyone out there listening this far, got links in the description. Check out his new solo album, Love and Other Strange Emotions. Got it linked down there. And starting to wrap up, got a couple more questions for you here.
Awesome.
What would you say is the personality trait that you most admire in other people you work with?
I really, really admire joy and optimism, especially in the face of hard times. I mean, when it, I'm trying really hard to not have to put an explicit on your podcast. I'm like aware of that. when it goes down, right? When it hits the fan, you learn a lot about people. And I like to surround myself with people who, the wilder it gets, the quieter and the more focused they get and the more positive they get. When the van breaks down, the people who start really losing it, who get freaked out, who are freaked by the whole situation. And by van breakdown, I mean, that's a stand-in for anything that gets you bothered and out of the moment. I most appreciate people who enjoy, who are optimistic, and who persevere in the face of adversity. And that's the kind of people I want to surround myself with in a work environment and just in my personal life.
Amen. Last question for you. What advice can you share for me, for anyone out there listening, maybe the younger folks out there like me in their 20s, about living a life you can look back on and be proud of?
Oh man, what a great question, Cam. The shortest answer than what comes to mind is you should ask me in like 15 years when I've got a little more under my belt, when I'm a little longer in the tooth. But but that's a cop out. I'll have a better answer, I think, when I'm 55 or 60. But almost everything that I do has meaning, and almost everything that I do it is a way for me to express the art of living, whether it's interacting with the way that I wake my kids up in the morning, the way that I make their lunch, the way that I send them out the door, the way that I wash the dishes, the way that I leave the house when I leave it, the way that I notice the light or the clouds. Every day, every moment is like incredibly ripe with potential for like transcendence. It's always like, it's like right there, and it is, I think it's important. We all have mundane tasks we have to do. We all got to go pick up the dry cleaning. But even in picking up the dry cleaning, there's something hell, there's probably 1,000 things that are going to happen in that process. And any one of those moments or interactions or something that you catch out of the corner of your eye, it's there's like infinite potential in every moment for like the juiciest, most beautiful, transcendent stuff to happen. And I mean, it sounds kind of silly, but it's like, it really is like, it's always right there. And the more I recognize that, the more that it's like, it's like the high never ends when everything has meaning and you find the meaning in everything. And it's sort of like I was talking about with the songs, like you write that song thinking it might be the best song you ever written. when I like I get on my bike to go for a bike ride, it might be the best bike ride of my life. And it is only going to be that way because of the way that I perceive it and the way that I experience it. It's all on me, and it's all right there. Whatever it is, just man, the like it's like the ripeness of the world, the potential for beauty is immense. And the sooner you get hip to that, and the more often you're tuned into that, the I mean, the moments are fleeting, but you really can be blown away by existence every day, every hour, almost every minute. It's all like it's right there.
It's ours for the taking.
Yeah.
I've heard a quote. It's like life is a series of distracting ourselves from the idea of how profound it is that we're even here and alive and all of this exists. And it's like going to the dry cleaning is like a substitution for every distraction. And if you just take a second and blink and you realize who and where you are and that you have no idea why, it's, dude, what a conversation, man. Thank you so much. And I'll absolutely take you up on that interview in 10 to 15.
Awesome. Yeah, let's circle back and see where we're at, because I think we're only going to grow, and our perception is only going to get deeper, and the razor is only going to get honed and sharper, and we have so much potential, man. So yeah, I'll see you in 10 or 15 years.
Maybe even sooner. And yeah. Fingers crossed, we'll still have some solid hairlines.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We can only hope.
My man. Cheers.
Awesome. Thanks, Cam.